Okay, so today I'd like to talk to you about probably the most overlooked thing that most people struggle with. It's why most people are not achieving the success that they want in their lives. And so let me propose this to you. Imagine that I have a magic wand and I wave that magic wand, and suddenly all of your problems disappear permanently. All of your problems are completely gone. All of your struggles are completely gone. What do you think about that? Now, what are you going to do? And if you tell the truth and you're like most people, well, people are saying, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. On the surface, it sounds great. But dig a little deeper. Tell the truth. So really imagine now that you have no problems. What are you going to do? Somebody there is honest. They say, I don't know. And most people, that's the truth. You don't know. Because most of us, our lives are consumed by what we don't want. We, day in and day out, we're focused on all of our problems, all of our struggles. And even to the degree that we think we're focused on what we want, most of the time it's just a reaction to what we don't want. It's a strategy that we've developed trying to get rid of what we don't want. So if I have this magic wand and I wave it and suddenly all of your problems go away, you're not going to know what to do. And this should be, a light bulb should go on right now. Because maybe it will start to make sense what I've often pointed out, that it's incredibly important to know what you want. You see, most people know what they don't want, but they have no clue what they actually want. And there's this fundamental law that governs creation. It's the law of attention. So everything is energy. Think about that. Everything is energy. So everything that you experience through your five senses. Can you experience anything apart from what you experience with your five senses? The answer to that is no, but you could contemplate that, right? So everything that you experience supposedly of the outside world is experienced through your five senses. And everything that you experience of your inner world is also experienced through your five senses. Even your thoughts occur through your five senses. Try to think a thought without hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, or whatever else, whatever the fifth sense is. Okay, try and do it. You can't. Right? When most people are thinking thoughts, they're inwardly they're hearing something, they're seeing something. Maybe in some rare cases, there's some other way in which they're thinking it, but it's still through one of their five senses or some combination. So everything that you experience outwardly and inwardly is done through the five senses. And your five senses only are registering energy. It's just ways of interpreting energy, right? So if you think about, we can measure, so think about what you see. What you see consists of light, basically. And all that light can be measured on using some instruments, and it can be measured with frequency. So it's all energy that's vibrating at certain frequencies. Same with sound, right? All sound is just frequency, energy. All of it is. All of it is just energy, okay? So what is it that differentiates what we experience as one form versus another? It's all energy. Well, the difference would be your attention. What you give your attention to is what determines what you experience. So this law of attention is so fundamental but most people overlook it in favor of other things. So, if you want whatever you think you want, or whatever you think you want to get away from, you can watch YouTube videos, you can read books, you can get all kinds of instruction, lots of fancy, detailed, complicated methods and techniques that you can use in order to try and solve that problem. And you can go on endlessly seeking out those things, but you won't get the real results until you master this fundamental thing, which is attention, what you put your attention on. If you keep putting your attention on something, you're going to keep getting that thing. This is why people who have success with things have success. That's the other techniques, and the rest of it is secondary. It's icing on the cake. It might help you. It might enhance the results, but fundamentally, it's about what you put your attention on. Because if you keep putting your attention on the thing, eventually you will get better at it, right? If whatever you want, if you keep putting your attention on it, you will gain more knowledge, more mastery. It will start to grow in your life. It's just a very fundamental law that governs creation. So think about that then. If most of the time you're putting your attention on what you don't want, what are you going to get in your life? Should be totally obvious, right? You're going to get a lot of what you don't want. Now take a look at your life. Can you see that law is working perfectly? You put your attention on what you don't want, you get what you don't want. Then what happens? You typically put more attention on the thing you don't want. And then you get more of it, right? And then because you keep getting more of it, you keep saying, well, I can't help but put my attention on it. It's right there staring me in the face. I have to keep putting attention on it. So you put more attention on it. And then what happens? You get more of it. Now, along the way, of course, you're not thinking about it in those terms, right? You're not thinking, oh, I'm putting attention on what I don't want. You're thinking about, I'm trying to solve my problems. But if you look at what you're actually doing, you're putting your attention on what you don't want. Because even though you're putting your attention on it in a negative way, you're saying, I don't want it. I want to get rid of it. I want to solve that problem. Your attention is still going to what you don't want. And that law is governing creation. So whatever you put your attention on, that's where the energy goes. So if you keep doing that, you're going to keep getting more of it. So the secret is know what you want, put your attention on that. So again, think about it. Hopefully this was a somewhat shocking experience to realize if I wave the magic wand and I take away all of your problems, suddenly you don't know what to put your attention on because you're so practiced at putting your attention on these certain things and they're what you don't want. I don't want the debt. I don't want the stress. I don't want the drama in my life. I don't want the health problems. I don't want these things. I don't want those. And what do you get? Those things. And it's like this game of whack-a-mole. You know the game of whack-a-mole? It's this thing in, arcade game. I don't know why it's really a game, but the mechanical thing and these little mechanical moles pop up through the holes and you hit one of them and then the next one pops up. And then you whack that one and then the next one pops up. And then you whack that one and the next one pops up. I don't know why this is fun. But this is how most people are playing the game of life, right? It's a game of whack-a-mole. So you say, oh, finally I solved that problem. Now I don't have that problem anymore. Up pops the next problem. You keep whacking that one until finally you get that one to go down. And then it's like, oh, finally got that one taken care of. The next one pops up. And it's fundamentally the same thing because the underlying issues are the same. And that's what you keep putting your attention on. And that's why you keep getting more of it. And we can understand those in terms of, like limiting beliefs that you might have about yourself and life. They keep all of these things in play. So you might say, well, I solved, it used to be I was, 50 pounds overweight and I solved that problem. Look at me. Fantastic. Then you say, and now I have this completely unrelated problem. This completely unrelated problem of my finances are in the trash. And then you finally solve that one and you say, look at me. I solved the problem. I was 50 pounds overweight. I solved the problem of my finances. Now I'm fit as a fiddle. I've got the six pack abs, and I've got I've got $1 million in the bank. And now I have this completely unrelated problem that, my marriage is totally in ruin, completely unrelated. But they're not completely unrelated because you've been practicing having problems. So no matter what you do, you're going to have more problems until you finally realize that you don't want problems. And then you have to put your attention on what you do want. So this can save you an awful lot of distress, heartache, worry, anxiety, if you really understand this. This is why I'm bringing this to your attention. Because just take a look and see how true this is. I mean, you can, if you don't agree, you're welcome not to agree. But just take a look sincerely and just see, can you recognize that this is a pattern that you recognize in your own life and certainly in the lives of others, right? Because if you look at these celebrities who people follow and they try to emulate, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, they're playing whack-a-mole. So they've solved one problem, but then they've got a dozen other problems that are just lined up waiting to be addressed because it has to keep happening, that there'll keep being more problems because the name of the game there is problems, because the focus is on what they don't want. So if you emulate that, you're going to get the same in your life. You'll just be solving problems, solving problems, solving problems, solving problems, solving problems. And lo and behold, there are always more problems. Because if you keep focusing on what you don't want, you're going to keep getting what you don't want. So hopefully that's clear. Then if you get that, if you understand that, which hopefully you do, then the question is, how do you figure out what you want? And this is sort of like the $1 million question. This is the thing that a lot of people are struggling with. So I see this, in when I'm working with people in the programs that I offer, this is one of the big things that people run up against. They say, okay, finally, I'm going to actually I get it. I'm going to start to take a look and see what is it that I want. And then they just seem to draw a blank. I say, well, gee, I don't know what I want. Well, okay, first of all, that kind of makes sense a little bit, right? If you've been practicing putting your attention on what you don't want for the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more, then what are you going to be really good at? You're going to be really good at putting your attention on what you don't want. You're going to know all of the things that you don't want. But what you won't have much experience with is what you do want. So it makes sense that at first, you're not going to be really skilled at that. It's like anything. I mean, it's like if all your life you've been speaking English, and then one day you realize that you really want to speak, I don't know, some other language, let's say Russian. Do you think you're going to be really good at speaking Russian on the first day? No, of course not. So cut yourself a little slack. It's okay if at first you don't know what you want. Just because you can't figure it out on the first day or the second day or the third day doesn't mean you won't figure it out. So have a little bit of patience with it. Just be honest about the fact that you've gotten really good at knowing what you don't want. And now you're switching gears intelligently and you're going to put your attention on what you do want. But that process there's a little bit of a learning curve. So just have some patience with that. Be kind of honest about how things work in this world. Now, with that said, there are really hard ways to do this, and then there are easier ways to do it. And what I found is one of the really hard ways to do it is to demand of yourself that you should figure out the thing that is like this super spiritual, evolved, perfect thing that's the one thing, like you have to nail it and you only get one shot at it. Put a lot of pressure on yourself to get it perfect. That seems to be a recipe for a lot of hardship and unpleasantness and stress. So I don't recommend doing that to yourself. Here's another approach that I think works better, which is just start doing it. So you don't have to get it perfect to take the pressure off, right? So you don't have to figure out the one perfect thing that forever and ever you've got to be fully committed to, and you can't back out of that at all. And, it's not like that. Don't do that to yourself. How about you just start and low pressure, no pressure. How about, just be like a child. So the child, if you ask the child what the child wants, the child's like, I want the chocolate. I don't know what, when I was a kid, it was Nintendo. I don't know what kids want these days, but, I have no idea, what do kids want these days? I don't know, but they know what they want, right? They know what they want. Now, is that what they ultimately want? No. Is that really going to give them lasting satisfaction? For the most part, no. So, of course, most of us have evolved a little bit. And so we can recognize that just being entirely impulsive may not give us the best results. But a lot of the time what we've done is we've cut ourselves off so much from that. So there's spontaneity, and then there's impulsiveness, and they kind of somewhat close in the same kind of ballpark. And so we kind of tend to cut off spontaneity with impulsiveness. But let's allow ourselves to have a little bit more of that spontaneity. Let's allow, even if we err and we end up being a little bit impulsive sometimes, maybe that would be better than demanding that we have to be perfect. Maybe we can allow that we have developed some skills along the way that allow us to have a little bit more success. Like, we don't have to be so stressed and so anxious and so worried about making mistakes. Maybe it's okay if we make a little mistake here and there. So you can allow yourself just to be a little bit more open and honest about what you want, even if it's not the one perfect pure thing, even if it's a little bit leaning toward impulsive. You could still just start to open up and allow yourself that. And there's some ways that you can do that are pretty low on the commitment scale, right? You don't have to go all in and say, well, just because I'm giving voice to the fact that I might have this desire, that I'm married to it now. It doesn't have to be like that. You could just journal, right? You could just write. You could just write stuff. You could just allow yourself just to let it come out. And you're not committing to it. You're not saying, I'm going to do this thing now and forever. You just say, this is a thing that came through my mind. And so it's like, there's this book, some of you may be familiar with it, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And the fundamental practice that she recommends in that book is just daily pages. You just fill 3 pages, and it doesn't matter what you put in here. You could write the same word over and over and over and fill 3 pages. The point is just to get things flowing. And if you do that every day, then things will start to flow, because, eventually you're going to kind of move on from just writing one word over and over and over, filling 3 pages. Your brain is going to say, I want something a little bit more interesting than that. It will start to invent something more interesting than that. It will start to open up to things. So just start to allow yourself this freedom to start to explore what you want. See how a lot of time we make things really difficult for ourselves because we say, oh no, I don't want to mess up. But it could be something as simple as just write 3 pages, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be nonsense. But just to start to give yourself permission to start to allow things to flow, to open up and explore what it is that you desire. And importantly, just whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You might say, very base desires. You might just like, I want sex, 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 I want more sex. And then I want chocolate. And then more sex, and then more chocolate. And then I want to watch, violent movies. It could just be absolute. You might have so much judgment of the things, but just let it happen, because to at least chocolate first, not for me personally, but whatever. Let it start to flow, and don't keep yourself held so rigidly. Because what I've also found is that a lot of the time when I'm working with people, it's the people have just boxed themselves in so much. They've limited their options. And so they're so unhappy. And honestly, so many people get, and you might, you probably you might also relate to this. A lot of people will actually get to the point of contemplating, let's say, ways to exit this life. Like thinking, gee, wouldn't it be nice if maybe I just didn't have to wake up again, kind of thing, as an alternative to what they have produced for themselves, because they've limited themselves so much. It's like they got blinders on, and they say the only way that life can be is this way, and it sucks. And there's no other options for me. This is it. There's nothing else. It's just this misery, only this misery. It will only ever be this misery. And I've considered everything. It's like I have considered everything, and I've tried everything. And it seems true because of the blinders, right? It's like, to you, this is everything. It's like, look, I've looked and done everything, and this is all there is, and it all sucks. And so from that point of view, then people just logically, they conclude that it would be better not to wake up. And doesn't give very good results, right? But what I have found is that a lot of the time, just helping people to open up to see that there are more options available is kind of all it takes a lot of the time. And when I say all it takes, I don't mean that's all it takes, and like that, all of a sudden they've got, they're on the yacht with the gorgeous spouse and the all that stuff. I just mean that's all it takes in order to start to allow more flow, so that then suddenly it's like, oh, I could want something other than these things that I thought were everything, that all sucked. It's like, oh, there's more available. There's way more available, way, way, way more available. And some of it might be nice. Some of it might be fulfilling. Some of it might be for me. So give yourself permission to start to explore things that you might enjoy, things that might actually be for you, things that might be satisfying and fulfilling for you. And again, don't insist and demand that you have to come up with the one right thing now. In fact, who said there has to be one right thing? And if somebody said that, why do you believe them? If somebody says something and it's useful for you, great. But if somebody says something and it's not useful for you, why are you going to keep it? Even if the one who said it was you, right? Sometimes we do that to ourselves. We say something and we're like, gee, that must be true because I said it. And it's like, oh, but it really hurts. I don't like it. It's so difficult. It's so painful. It's so limiting. But I said it. It must be true. Or, Nisargadatta said it. It must be true. Ramana said it. It must be true. Jesus said it. It must be true. It's like, okay, could you at least allow the possibility? Even if you say, okay, those are perfected beings, and the scribes wrote everything down perfectly, and it's unerringly been transmitted over time, and I got it exactly perfect. Could you at least allow the possibility that maybe you misunderstood something? Maybe you didn't understand it correctly. Could you at least allow that possibility? It's just start to open yourself up and realize that there are more possibilities than what you have previously considered, and that some of those could be joyful, and that they're maybe available to you. And so knowing what you want is very, very, very important. It's so fundamental. If you don't have that, you're going to struggle. So it's one of the most important things you can do. And if you're doing other stuff, before you give some attention to that, then you're making things really painful for yourself. So I highly recommend regularly give some attention to that and make it something that can be light, enjoyable. Like I said, don't make it this heavy, burdensome thing. Haven't you done enough of that in your life? You know, it's like, I have to, I should, I must. How many of these things have you done in your life where you say, I have to lose the 25 pounds. I have to. Bullshit. You don't have to do anything. I have to because my family. I have to because of my kids. I have to because of my parents. I have to because of my religion, my society, my whatever, I have to do it. But when you have to do something, you make your life a drag. You make it so heavy. You make it so miserable. Then you start thinking in these terms of like, I don't know if maybe I should just not wake up. Maybe that would be a better alternative. And just see that you're doing that to yourself. You don't have to do that to yourself. So you don't have to do anything, but you could choose to do some things, and you could choose to do some things. Why? Because it might help you, because it might make your life better, because you might start to enjoy your life better. You might actually start to find more fulfillment in your life if you chose to do those things. That's all. So what I'm proposing to you is that you could choose regularly to put some attention in a enjoyable, light, playful way on what it is that you want. And if at first you have no clue what it is that you want, you can still do it. You can still put your attention playfully on what you want, even if you don't yet know what it is, because you can just start to exercise that creative flow, and that will help you to start to put some attention on what you want. So at first, you might say, how do I know? I don't even know where to begin. Okay, well, begin here. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? And you're like, tartar sauce. Okay, well, that's strange. Tartar sauce is going to be, some people are like, what is tartar sauce? It's a thing. I don't know. But if that's the first thing that comes to mind, then who cares? Write it down. And then move on, right? You're like, tartar sauce, that's weird. Okay. What's the next thing that comes to mind? Fish cakes. Well, that makes a little bit of sense, doesn't it? But still, it's like, oh, fish cakes. What is that going to do for me? Is that fulfilling? I don't know. Okay. Then you're like, Volkswagen bus. Where are we going with this? This is strange. That's not going to give me anything that I want. And then you're like, margaritas. You're like, I don't even drink. Okay, keep going. You just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You just let it flow. And pretty soon, you'll start to find that you're getting ideas that are useful to you. You'll start to realize that you have options that you hadn't previously considered. You'll start to realize that you do want things. You have wanted things all along, but you were cutting yourself off from those things. You were denying yourself those things because you said, well, it's bad, it's wrong, I can't, I shouldn't, like, not in this meeting, but in another meeting, recently, the topic of semen retention came up, and now it's coming up here because I brought it up. And I guess it's this popular thing, not amongst the women, I understand, for obvious reasons, but amongst men, this idea of semen retention is somewhat popular because, think about it, guys are unhappy and they're looking for why they might be unhappy, and they're like, semen retention, that's got to be the answer to everything. And so then they're saying, okay, that's the answer to everything. If I just I have to practice semen retention 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days. I'm going for 365, and boy, when I hit 365, my life is finally going to work. And but underneath it all, they're thinking, sex. I just want sex. I want sex so badly. But no, semen retention, that's going to solve all my problems. So then they deny themselves, right? They say, I can't want sex. I don't want sex. Sex is bad. Sex is the work of the devil. Sex is a temptation trying to lead me astray from real salvation and real fulfillment. And I'm going to find real fulfillment if I can just retain it for 365 days. And the women are like, what is he talking about? But you have your own version of this. It's whatever that is for you, okay? And whatever it is, just see, you've got these things that you do to yourself where you use these as a way to deny that you have certain desires. You make those desires bad. You make them wrong. You cut yourself off from them. And little by little, you're doing this to yourself until you get to this point. You say, I've tried everything. Life is all miserable and I'll never get out of it. And it's always going to be like this. And I've tried everything and it's never going to be any better. And I don't know what to do. And I just have to keep on going because of my kids and because of my spouse and because of my parents and because of God and because of all the things. And I just got to, I don't know what else to do. And maybe I just will wake up tomorrow and won't that be so nice? But meanwhile, I'm going to keep retaining the semen. Ooh, and it's like, that's what people are doing to themselves. And so then when somebody says, what do you want? We say, I don't know. I don't know what I could want. I don't think I want anything. I don't think I want anything at all, except for maybe just not to wake up anymore. Or, maybe they say, well, I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. I want to be free. It sounds nice, doesn't it? It's like, well, gee, who wouldn't want that? I want to be happy. I want to be free. I want to be at peace. You can say all those things, but you're giving lip service to them because you're using it. It's just a thing because it's just a way that you can define what it is that you think you're going to get eventually if you keep denying what you want, right? If you just keep focusing on the problems, you tell yourself, well, when I solve the problems, when I retain the semen for long enough, then I'll be happy. Won't that be so nice? But you have no idea what that happiness actually is because you haven't actually given any attention to the happiness itself. You're just focused on what you have to avoid. So then when someone says, what do you want? You say, I don't know. I really don't know. I think I don't want anything. There must be something wrong with me. I must be broken, or I must be very spiritually evolved, right? Because if you're very spiritually evolved, you have no desire. So you think, boy, I'm getting so close. I'm almost there. I'm like, well, I'm touching the ascended masters. I'm that close. I'm so close because I have no desires. But the question is, so when you genuinely have no desires, you will genuinely feel happy. Are you genuinely feeling happy? Or are you mostly focused on your problems? And if you're mostly focused on your problems, it's not that you have no desires, you just suppress the desires so much. So it's like, it's spiritual constipation is what it is. And that's why you don't feel so good. So, again, I know a lot of time we want to make things very complicated. What if I need, so the semen retention doesn't seem to be quite giving the results. So we say, well, but that's a given that I have to keep doing that. So I'm going to keep doing that. But since that's not giving the complete results, I'm going to also add in this other thing, right? So now I'm going to do semen retention, plus I'm going to do Wim Hof. And people who don't know Wim Hof, I don't know where you have been. Okay. Right. But so now I'm going to do semen retention. I'm going to do the ice baths. I'm going to hyperventilate. I'm going to go raw vegan because those things weren't also doing it. Right. So it's like, I was doing semen retention. I was doing the hyperventilation. I was doing the ice bath. Those things weren't giving the results, but they're given. I have to keep doing them. There's no way I could stop doing them because they're obviously required. So now I'm going to also add into that, I'm going to go raw vegan. So now I'm doing that for a while. I'm like, boy, I'm kind of not feeling so great, but that must mean that I'm getting closer, right? because that's just part of how it is, right? You have to feel worse before it gets better. So it makes sense. I'm feeling kind of like frustrated and angry and irritable and tired and all these things must mean I'm getting closer, but I need something more. So then you add in the next thing. What is the next thing? I could suggest some things that I've tried, but you don't want to know those things. But you've done your own things and you know how your own brain has worked, right? So you know how this is happening for you, right? So you've done your own version of this where you just, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do the next thing. And then you find yourself, you're like, it's not working. It's just not working. And, again, you're back here and you're like, life sucks. I've done everything, right? Because I've done Wim Hof and I've done the vegan thing and I've done this thing and I've done that thing. I'm like the high fat, low carb, raw vegan. So, what I'm proposing is I know some people sent me emails. They're like, you're getting so popular, saying you're gonna be bigger than Deepak. I'm like, never gonna happen, because Deepak writes about stuff. It's so so complicated. I don't think he even understands it. No, I'm sure he understands it. He's very, very smart. So I shouldn't say that. He understands. But most of us don't understand it, which is why it's very popular, right? The more complicated, the more dramatic, the more that you can't understand it, the more popular it will be. And, so this is what I'm sharing is never going to be popular like that. Never. Because it's very, very simple. And that's unfortunately also why a lot of people won't do it. Because they keep thinking that the real answer must be the really complicated stuff. The real answer has to be that I've got to abuse myself more. I've got to push myself harder. But just tell the truth, that's not working very well. So, know what you want. It will give you much better results. And you can know what you want. And the way to do that is just to keep consistently putting your attention on it. And again, if you say, but I don't even know where to start, I'm telling you exactly where to start. Every day, to whatever degree you're willing to do it. Even if you do it, I said, Julia Cameron says do 3 pages. And if you're not going to do 3 pages, then do less. Try 2 pages, and if 2 pages is, you can't do 2 pages, then do less. Do 1 page. And if you're not going to do 1 page, try getting in a smaller dimensional notebook, You could do, if it's a small enough notebook, you could do 1 page, right? You might even be able to do 3 pages if it's small enough. And it seems like I'm joking, but I'm not. I'm serious. I'm completely serious. Because if you do it, you will get the results. Because this law of attention is fundamental. It's how everything is operating. Just take a look and see in your life. Everything is operating according to this law. Whatever you put your attention on, that's what you experience more of in your life. For better or for worse. But how about using it consciously? Put your attention on what you want. And just consistently put your attention on what you want. You have to start where you are. And if you do that, it will grow. You will get better at it. It will become easier. It will become more joyful. It will start to happen naturally. You'll find that you're just naturally putting your attention on what you want instead of what you don't want. So, and if you say, I'm I cannot write. I won't write. I just have a block. I have resistance against writing. Okay, then don't write. Do it some other way. I don't care. It's nothing to me. Just do it some way that will work for you. The main point is just do it consistently. Allow yourself to start putting your attention on what you want. Open up that tap so that it starts to flow. And just give yourself permission. It doesn't have to be brilliant. You don't have to impress anybody. Just give yourself permission to start. And do it consistently every day. And when I say, so a couple other brief things before I wrap up with this. Okay, so whatever, as I said, the law of attention is whatever you put your attention on is what grows. So if you do something daily, that is best. That will help it grow the most. Because there's also this, so nature is governed by cycles and rhythms. If you pay attention, you'll see they're everywhere. Cycles within cycles within cycles. If you align yourself with that, it's like you get a free ride. It's sort of like if you go downstream, you get a free ride. If you try to go upstream, it's much harder. So the more you align yourself with nature, the easier it is for you. And that's why I'm recommending daily. Daily habits give you the best results because then you get that free ride. So think about things that you do every day. Little things that you do every day. And think about how easy it is to do those things, like brushing your teeth. I'm betting most of you brush your teeth daily. If you don't, you might think about it. But brushing your teeth daily, if you do it, would it make any sense to you if I said, that's amazing? It's amazing that you brush your teeth every day. How do you do that? How do you manage the willpower, the discipline to brush your teeth daily? That's incredible. Wouldn't make any sense, right? Because it's easy. Because you've probably been doing it for years. You don't have to think about it. You brush your teeth at the same time every day. I mean, maybe not exactly the same clock time, but in terms of your routine, it's the same, right? Like, you probably don't kind of go through your day and you're like, oh, I forgot to brush my teeth. Because you brush your teeth at the same time. So it just happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. So that's the power of doing something every day when you're working with nature in that way, because there are certain rhythms, as I say. So the cycle of the sun is incredibly powerful, right? It's happening every day. Sunrises, sunsets, sunrises, sunsets. If you align yourself with that rhythm, big time free ride. Anything, just again, check it out. Your daily routine is super powerful. Anything that you've established in your daily routine, once it's there, it's set it and forget it. You do that thing, and for better or for worse, right? If there are things in your daily routine that are not so helpful for you, it's more challenging to stop those habits than things that you don't do daily. Well, the inverse is also true. The positive things that you do daily, it's very difficult for you to stop doing those as well. And that's a good thing. So if you establish positive habits on a daily basis, it's really, really, really powerful. It's more powerful than that, but by saying more really, it would just be obnoxious. But it's super powerful. So I highly recommend it. Now, you think about if you want to establish a habit, and what I'm going to say is totally obvious, but it has to be said. If you want to establish a habit, it has to be sustainable, right? It will not work. You cannot establish a habit if it's not sustainable. I think that's by definition true. So this is why Julia Cameron's idea of writing 3 pages every day, it's a nice idea, but it's not going to work for everybody. In fact, it's probably not going to work for most people, which is why most people are not doing it. But what the unfortunate thing about that is that the practice is a good practice. If you did it every day, you would benefit from it. But if you don't do it, you won't benefit from it. So that's why I suggest, if you can't do 3 pages, if 3 pages is not sustainable for you, don't do 3 pages. That would be crazy, right? That would be like if I said, look, let's say we do a big research project. We have study thousands and thousands of people, and we determine that there's an optimal way to brush your teeth. And if you do it exactly this way, you are guaranteed for life to have absolutely healthy teeth and gums. And this way of brushing your teeth requires that you have to, first of all, it requires the average person about 3 years of daily study and practice for about 5 hours a day just to learn how to do it. And then once you've learned how to do it, the good news is then it only takes 1 hour every day. Sounds nice in theory. The results are appealing, but you're not going to do that. Just be honest about it. You're not going to do that. So what will you do? You think you brush your teeth for like 2 minutes a day? If you really timed it, maybe you don't even do it that long. Okay. But so if you're not going to do it for 2 minutes a day, you think maybe it would at least be better to brush your teeth for like 30 seconds a day rather than not. Probably better to brush your teeth for 30 seconds than not brush your teeth, right? And if you're one of those people and you're like, oh my, 30 seconds, that's so long. I don't think I can do anything for 30 seconds. Then do you think it would at least be better to brush your teeth for 10 seconds than not to brush your teeth at all? Now, there's some part of your brain that might be saying, well, I don't know if it's worth it at all. But come on, think about it. Don't you think it would be better to brush your teeth for 10 seconds than not brush your teeth at all if you do it every day? It's probably going to be better. And it's like that with almost everything, that if you do it daily, even a very small amount, if it's a useful thing, it's still going to be useful. Is it going to be optimal? Not necessarily. Right? So Julia Cameron, I'm sure she didn't do some kind of research study where she investigated to find the optimal number of pages. But she determined, using whatever criteria she did, 3 pages. Okay, so maybe she found 3 pages, gave good results for her, and maybe gives good results for many other people. Great. But again, if you're not going to do 3 pages, don't you think maybe 1 page would be better than none? And if you're not going to do 1 page, don't you think at least half a page would be better than nothing? Can you see how that might be true? So I advocate for this with all things, most things, if not all things. If it's a useful thing that you want to establish as a daily habit, do it in some way that you will actually do. Instead of saying, well, I should do it in this other way. I should do it in the perfect way. I should write 3 pages every day. And I should do, 30 minutes of Wim Hof breathing. And I should get in the ice bath that's exactly, 45 degrees Fahrenheit for exactly these number of minutes. But make it easier on yourself. What will you actually do? What will actually work for you? And then do that. And I'm just suggesting take a little bit of time each day to put attention on what you want. It will change your life. And if I wrote that as a book, Deepak will always sell better than that. But now you know the secret to success. With that, you can change your life. You just have to do it. So my challenge to you, my invitation to you is do it. Take me up on the invitation. Commit to that. Find some way that is sustainable for you to give attention to allow your creative juices to flow, to open to new opportunities, new options, new possibilities within yourself. Let it be play. And report back to me and let me know how that changes your life, because it absolutely will if you follow through on it. Absolutely will. So that's all I got for today. For those who are here live, we'll stay on for the group coaching. And I want to say a few words to people who will watch us on YouTube. So what am I supposed to say? Number one, if you're interested in joining these calls live, you're welcome to do so. And you can get that information by signing up on my website from my email list. And that is joeylott.com. I'll provide a link in the description on YouTube. And when you sign up, there's also now you will get immediate access to a free book, which is called, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the five, it gives an overview of the 5 fundamental laws that govern reality. So I talked about the law of attention today. This book also goes into more detail on that and other of the fundamental laws that govern creation. And when you understand those laws, you can really do anything in your life. It really gives you a remarkable power in your life. So it's a very excellent book. It's well worth getting, and you can get that for free just by signing up. And then for those who might be interested in a more supported, structured, guided process to be able to implement these kinds of things in your life and more, so that you can create what you want in your life and have the experiences that you're here to have in your life, you may be interested in the Manifesting Truth program. That is a paid program. And when you sign up for that, you also, along with the 9 weekly lessons that give you the core information that you need and practices that you need in order to have anything that you want in your life, you also get included in that 9 weeks of group coaching. That's a private group. And so that's an awesome opportunity to get all of your questions answered and to get one-on-one support with me in that group context. So you can learn more about that at joeylott.com/manifesting-truth. And again, there'll be a link in the description on YouTube. So I think that's all I'm supposed to say. If not, I'll remember later. But for now, I'm going to sign off on YouTube. So blessings to you all, and I'm going to end this recording now.